Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. On Sunday, my nearly 2-year-old, it's like my a 9-year-old and 2-year-old were like horse playing at the table, and I ended up with a cup of broiling hot tea in my lap. And I've got second-degree burns on my thighs, and it is unpleasant. This is part of the mindfulness practice, right? It's like recognizing when something's unpleasant. Like, it was unpleasant at the time, that's for sure. I think I gave out a little yelp that everyone in the restaurant could hear, and stood up and really, interestingly, the moment of really strong pain only lasted for a few seconds, probably 2 seconds. I felt like so much pain, but it's it was interesting to observe what it's like to be in that much pain, right? I mean, I was certainly awake after that, and then just to see, I guess I don't think I've had burns quite like that. So anyway, I haven't been swimming. I haven't been doing really any exercise. So, as you know, not exercising for me, it does have an effect on my mood, and I don't feel quite myself because of it. And I'm excited to get back into it, but at the same time, what's this not exercising like, right? What version of me shows up, and how can I be at peace with this, right? I mean, there are times that some of us will have physical difficulties that may last indefinitely, that stop us from doing the things that we want to do. There may be ways around it, ways to do other forms of physical activity. Today's topic is about why bother meditating, and what are the ways that we can meditate. And I wrote, when I was setting this up, about the why bother part, because I was just reminded of it, because I know that's how the book Mindfulness in Plain English by Bhante Gunaratara begins. The first chapter is called Meditation, Chapter 1, Meditation, Why Bother? And it's like I want to read some of that to you. The problem is that I'd actually like to read the whole first chapter, and I know I can't take the time to do that. So instead, I'll read a few excerpts of it, the first chapter, and then one of the chapters a bit deeper in, after I kind of summarize what is in between these two. So meditation, why bother? Meditation's not easy. It takes time and it takes energy. It also takes grit, determination, and discipline. It requires a host of personal qualities which we normally regard as unpleasant, which we want to avoid whenever possible. Meditation takes gumption. It's certainly a great deal easier just to kick back and watch TV, so why bother? Why waste all that time and energy when you could be out enjoying yourself? Why bother? Simple, because you are human. And just because of the simple fact that you are human, you find yourself heir to an inherent unsatisfactoriness in life, which simply will not go away. You can suppress it from your awareness for a time. You can distract yourself for hours on end, but it always comes back, usually when you least expect it. All of a sudden, seemingly out of the blue, you sit up, take stock, and you realize your actual life situation. So, we run from pain, maybe not coincidental for me to be talking about running from pain after I, literally stood up quickly and unconsciously tried to escape pain. We run away from pain and we draw towards pleasure. In Mindfulness in Plain English, Gunaratara even says that we're hungry, right? We get hungry. We eat because we want well, what is it exactly that we're trying to cure? We eat because we want to feel better, right? We pursue pleasures because we want happiness and peace. And that really was what Gunaratana boils it down to, is happiness and peace are the things that we are seeking. So we are seeking through all kinds of things happiness and peace. That's what we really want. And so, what is the feeling of being satiated? It helps us to bring these feelings of happiness and peace to ourselves. So it's difficult to know what is at the root of this. And I think I was chatting with Jean just a few days ago, and I think she was talking about Reuben Lowe's events, and Reuben Lowe's events are kind of like ways to work through some of your problems, like an additional therapy session, for example. So it really is targeted and specific, and maybe even sometimes general, around certain topics that are like this. Okay, my sessions are not like that, in that I hope to help you achieve one thing out of mindfulness sessions, and that is to be more mindful. Okay, because mindfulness is really the foundation, is a foundational skill that can be used for all other kinds of skills, especially when we're examining what's going on inside of our minds. And observing mental states. When I am not exercising, what am I like now? And this is where mindfulness practice comes in. So mindfulness isn't a cure for any kind of mental disorder, let's say. What mindfulness, or well, maybe ADHD. What mindfulness, so I'm sidetracked for a moment. What mindfulness really is this foundational skill for self-assessment and self-awareness. So it's hard for us to fix whatever it is we see as our problem if we cannot first examine clearly and be honest with ourselves about what is the problem. And I've found that my own mindfulness practice is a way for me to get out of get out of denial and go, this is a real problem. Here's something that I've observed in myself, and because I meditate every day, I see that rising up over and over again. And as much as I try to ignore it, my meditation practice puts that front and center, and I go, this is a problem, and this is something that I have the power to deal with. And yeah, and Jean says, I think of it as a foundation. So, for sure. And it is something, and Siffy says, when I haven't meditated, I feel so disoriented and not myself. And Rachel says, the brain is wired to seek safety and security, not happiness. And these are all very interesting too. And when we eat, eating's a great example, because we're satiated for a certain amount of time before that hunger comes back, and that really works for most of the other pieces of safety and security that we are trying to get, that these are temporary things and that they do not last forever. Let me read just one more piece here. So one of the texts The Dhammapada says, what you are now is the result of what you were. What you will be tomorrow is the result of what you are now. The consequences of an evil mind will follow you like a cart follows the ox that pulls it. The consequence of a purified mind will follow you like your own shadow. No one can do more for you than your own purified mind. No parent, no relative, no friend, no one. A well-disciplined mind brings happiness. Meditation is intended to purify the mind. It cleanses the thought process of what can be called psychic irritants like greed, hatred, and jealousy, these things that keep you snarled up in emotional bondage. It brings the mind to a state of tranquility and awareness, a concentration and insight. So, maybe there is more to meditation than self-awareness, but I think, and self-awareness really is it can't really be used completely to replace the word mindfulness, but the two have a lot of similarities. I'd say if nothing else out of your practice, one of the things that you can hope to achieve is mindfulness. And well, interestingly, today's topic was supposed to be mostly about types of meditation, ways to meditate, and not to get too caught up in why bother meditating. However, that's where we are. So it is time to practice, so let's go ahead and get started. But what I want to do today is we tend to focus on, I tend to lead practices that focus on the breath. I just like to shift. So get yourself comfortable. Shift into knowing that mindfulness is something that happens in the present moment. Mindfulness is paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and we can do that in more ways than simply focusing on breath. So get yourself comfortable. And let's drop into the present moment by focusing on the breath. So notice the fact that you are breathing. Pay attention to the gentle waves of the body as you breathe, the inflation, the expansion as you breathe in, the deflation, the contraction, the letting go as you breathe out. So I'm just going to say a few things while I encourage you to keep your attention focused on the breath. The body is here now all the time. The five senses are always giving you information in the present. Even when you're sleeping, the five senses are still giving you information. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, maybe some additional senses as well. Always working. The thing is, we may not be aware of it. So how to pay attention on purpose in the present moment is to observe something that's happening right now, and what we can observe resides in those five senses. And one of the easy ways, or one of the senses that we can tune into, is the sense of touch. And so can you bring attention to the shape of the body as it changes, which may or may not be exactly the sense of touch? And so let's take a few deeper breaths together now. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now allow your breath to return to its natural pace. Observe the breath. And the breath may be used as an object because of how it's always changing. So we're finding that we're always either breathing in or breathing out. There's this tiny gap between the inhale and the exhale. There's a tiny gap between the exhale and the inhale. Can you be fully aware of that and use that as your mindfulness practice? And then what else can we do? We can observe the body. So bring attention to the shoulders. What do you feel when you bring attention to the shoulders? What is the state of the shoulders right now? And so let's see if we can move the shoulders and bring awareness fully to the sensations in the shoulders as we move them. So bringing the shoulders up towards the ears, squeezing the shoulders towards the ears, and then bringing the shoulder blades together behind the back, opening the chest, feeling the pinching of the shoulder blades behind you, lowering the shoulders down away from the ears as far as possible. Bringing the shoulders together in front of the body, squeezing the chest, and then bringing the shoulders up towards the ears. And let me invite you to not be overly intense as you do these movements. That even doing something that is seemingly so simple can injure you if you try to do it too intensely. You can pull a muscle in your shoulders, get a cramp. So see if you can keep rolling the shoulders backwards slowly at your own pace, but be fully aware of the state of the shoulders in any point in this exercise. See if you can keep your attention focused on the sensations in the shoulders. If you find your mind wandering around to like what I need to do next or something that happened earlier today, see if you can let go of that and come back to the feeling in the shoulders. And now the next time your shoulders come up towards the ears, pause for a moment. And now let's go in the opposite direction, squeezing the chest muscles together in front, bringing the shoulders away from the ears, squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you, bringing the shoulders up towards the ears again, and then just at your own pace, rolling the shoulders forwards. And then the next time your shoulders come up towards the ears, pause there for a moment. And then on your next exhale, let the shoulders relax down to their normal resting position. Focus on the breathing. Has the breathing changed? Does the exhale feel any different now? And so let's bring our attention to the neck. Find any tension in the neck. Again, as we do these exercises, make sure that you are not exceeding what you know is good for you. If you have a neck injury, you shouldn't be participating in the same way as someone who does not. So let's bring our chin to the chest, or towards the chest. Feel the neck stretching out in the back. Bring the neck to the chin to the right, towards the right shoulder. Feel the back side of the neck stretching again. Now bring your chin to the other side, to the left shoulder. Relax for a moment. Let the face orient back towards the front, and then bring the chin up towards the ceiling. Feeling the stretch in the front. Now chin up and to the right. Back to center, up and to the left. Back to center. And now let's see if you can just move your head from side to side, like you're shaking your head, you're saying no. Very softly, gently, slowly. Maybe noticing as time goes on, muscles are loosening up. Pausing, feeling, okay, maybe I have a little bit of dizziness. What's happening there? And now nodding the head. So chin to chest, chin to the ceiling. And so this is mindfulness by holding attention in the body and the physical sensations in the moment. Being fully aware of how things are changing in the body. And this skill translates as well into, as you notice, your mind. So it begins to go over into observing the state of the mind, especially as we get distracted in our meditation practice. Okay, now relax. The head back to center. Feel free to roll the head, roll the shoulders in any way that may feel comfortable right now. Return to observing the breath. Okay, that's our practice for today. So let's close our practice with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Thanks for practicing with me today. How did it go? I know this is a bit of a change up compared to what we usually do, and so that might be a good thing for you. And if so, feel free to share what happened today as you practiced. And I'll share the first thing that I notice is that there's more ease in my body. I find that my shoulders, my neck is more relaxed, and I feel more comfortable. And maybe that can help me as I rest and recover from my 2nd-degree burns. And I can still feel the burns on my thighs as I'm here. I mean that pain is still there and hasn't gone away. And I think that's also a good testament to mindfulness practice, is to be aware of it. It's there. There's no escaping it, and there's no reason to escape it. I mean, it's there. It's an indicator, right? It's information for me. I mean, this is the reason pain exists anyway, right? Is to give us information, right? I get aware of the pain of touching a hot stove so that I don't destroy the flesh of my hand. And don't get me wrong, chronic pain is a different situation. But it is there. It exists, and can we come to peace with it? Jean says, as soon as we completed the shoulder roll, I found myself resisting the urge to immediately roll my head and neck. I had more tension than I thought, and I feel much better and more relaxed. Thanks, Jean, for sharing. And that's funny too, right? How that, if you're kind of used to, I mean, I guess if you've been practicing with me for a few years, you know my tricks. I'm not, I don't have too many new tricks up my sleeve, but that's kind of, there's a reason behind that, right? So as we go on from here, as we move on, I do want to talk more about meditation theory, more of the nitty-gritty stuff, go into some of Mindfulness in Plain English. If you haven't read that book, that was the first meditation book that I read after I started practicing, and I found it was really helpful. I read that book before my first meditation retreat, and it really gave me a lot of basic information that helped, that I found really useful as I began my meditation practice. So we'll go through that a little bit. I had a meditation retreat in September of last year, so I'm going to be going on a retreat with John Kabat-Zinn next month. So looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I never really, I took a lot of photos. I gathered a lot of information about that retreat, and it's something that I've never really shared on Insight Timer. So as we explore a little bit about mindfulness in plain English, and I can tell you a little bit more about this Thai forest tradition retreat that I went on about a year ago, and give you some of the, so we'll go through some of the talks that we listened to as well. Although the one thing that we will be missing out of that retreat is the hours and hours of meditation that we do. So it'll be a little bit out of context, but should be good. Jean says, I was trying to have beginner's mind. So, yeah, appreciate that for sure. And this is the other thing as I think through this, right? Is the 9 attitudes of mindfulness-based stress reduction are applicable and can be used all the time. In fact, I was talking with someone about the 9 attitudes, and as soon as they heard non-judging, they said, oh, I can't do meditation because I can't have a non-judging attitude. And I think my response was just kind of like, well, you don't, it's not like you have to, it's to just be aware that exists, that non-judging is a part of our practice that we can work towards. I certainly don't exhibit all 9 attitudes all the time. I have three sons at home, and I'd say like the one that pops into my mind right now is patience. Can I be patient all the time? No. Can I have beginner's mind all the time? No. Certainly practice. And practicing meditation helps me to remember and to have perspective and to know myself and to watch and observe me doing silly things before I do them, hopefully, so that I can choose a more peaceful, a better way. Because one of the reasons that we get angry off the cuff is because this is how we knee-jerk deal with difficult things that happen to us, right? It's not that my goal isn't to, let's use my children as an example. My goal isn't to make my children cry because I get so angry and I shout at them, although that does happen sometimes. The goal of me getting angry is, in fact, to soothe the difficult feeling, the uncomfortable feeling that I'm having in that moment, and it may make me shout. And when I recognize that the thing that is wrong or in pain is me, then I realize that I don't have to shout, that there is another way, that I can soothe myself and as well have a productive outcome of whatever the situation is that I'm facing. Thanks for joining today. I'll be back on Tuesday and speaking of my kids, they're going back to school here next week on Thursday. Everybody's going to be back to school. So basically 1 week from today, I'll have the life that I live like the other 10 months out of the year. As much as I'd love the present moment, I have to admit I'm looking forward to having a lot more peace in the house. Let's send our well wishes out to each other and to ourselves, of course, starting with ourselves, and wish ourselves those 2 things that really are kind of at the center of the human seeking experience. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life on this planet and throughout the universe, may we all be happy and peaceful. Thank you everyone for joining. Hope you have a great day or evening wherever you are. Let's see you next time. Bye-bye.